All right, folks, welcome on back to the College Super Picks podcast. Today we're talking about more college football, specifically the top 50 quarterbacks of 2023. This is a real banger, folks. Trying to grind out these ranking videos for y'all because it's the 12 days of Christmas, which means in the 12 days leading up to Christmas, I'm going to be trying to get out as many ranking videos as possible to celebrate the holidays for you guys. And if this video does well enough, I'll try to do it daily, day by day, 12 straight days of ranking videos. It's going to be tough, but it's all for you guys. One more thing, be sure to subscribe if you're here, if you're listening. It's great to have you on the show, and maybe you could stick around for a while, listen to some older videos. We did a lot of picks this year, more than we did last year, and we're hoping to break that record again next year. We'll be talking transfer portal for the rest of the off season. And with that, without further ado, let's get into it. The top 50 quarterbacks of 2023. One more thing, actually. This is only taking 2023 into account, nothing else. Also, a little bit of a shout out to Giraffe Neck Mark on this one. He does a very similar thing every year, but with baseball. Jingling on in at number 50 is Carter Bradley from South Alabama. The sixth-year senior was at number 49 in my most talented quarterbacks list to start the season, and he played that exact way, coming in at number 50 in my top 50 quarterbacks of 2023. Bradley had a really good season, very identical to last year in almost every way. Got that completion percentage up a little bit. The touchdowns went down, though. Finds himself at number 50. Really good quarterback, final year of college football. Really, really good season for the senior. We're going fast-paced with these early ones as we're getting into Kalen Cordo, who, funny enough, wears the same jersey number. He plays for San Jose State. Last year was an incredible breakout year for the transfer from Hawaii. This year, he came back for a sixth year of college football. Didn't have as good of a year, took a step down, but again, the completions percentage did go up by just a little bit. Other than that, he regressed a little bit, but Kalen Cordo is a very good quarterback, one of the more underrated ones out there. You may ask a lot of people, and he probably won't be in their top 50. He comes in at number 49 for me. Very talented guy, probably will go undrafted into the NFL, but I'd see a team pick him up maybe for a small backup position. Mikey Keane is here, transfer from UCF, breakout season. He played in reserve of Dillon Gabriel back in 2021 as a true freshman for the Knights. Back in 2022, he sat behind John Rice Plumlee in the Gus Malzahn era, and so he transferred out to Fresno State and put up some incredible numbers. 66% completion percentage and 21 touchdowns. Not the best rushing quarterback, as he sitting at only one rushing touchdown in his career, but when he throws the ball like that, he's got to make my top 50. He squeaks in at number 48. Man, did Tyler Van Dyke fall down on this list. Thought he was going to be up there in the top 10 after the first few weeks. That is not the case. He fell off hard. He is headed to Wisconsin, though, for his fifth season. Maybe the transfer portal will do some good things to him. Last year was nothing too crazy. 19 touchdowns, 12 picks. 66% completion will make you a little happy, but 27.03 through the air, 16 rushing yards is not too much. Very, very underwhelming season for Van Dyke, and that's why he is not coming back for another year. Maybe the change of scenery, again, as I was saying, will do him some justice over at Wisconsin. Luke Fickell seems like he's had a good reputation with Desmond Ridder being probably his best quarterback to ever come out of the Luke Fickell system. The speedy Garrett Green from West Virginia is coming in at number 46. Green had an incredible season. After what was not really a full year at all of play in 2022, he came in the 2023 season and threw for 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns to just 4 picks. Wasn't very efficient or accurate, but Man, this guy is something special on the ground. 706 rushing yards and more rushing touchdowns than Jaden Daniels is something to boast. 35 yards was his longest scamper this year. Ran it 111 times. He is a scrambling quarterback over at West Virginia, and that gets him onto this list at number 46. Let's continue to make our way quickly through these first 10 guys, as coming in at number 45 is Darren Granger. Granger, in his third year at Georgia State, transferred in from Furman back in that COVID year, and since then it's been all uphill for Granger. 3 straight really good seasons, including he's got 2,000 career rushing yards and almost 8,000 career passing yards. Granger is just 1 passing touchdown shy of 70 as he threw for 17 in the year 2023 and added 8 more on the ground. Really a great season from Darren Granger. You could argue even better than his season last year, which a lot of people already had him in their top 50. I had left him out, but he's definitely in there now, and he's a top 50 performer of the 2023 season. Next up, I've got the former 5-star recruit, and that's Cade Klubnik from Clemson. Klubnik was a little disappointing this year, but honestly, he was very, very serviceable for Clemson, led them to a top 25 finish, 4 wins to end the year, and finish 8-4, added 4 rushing touchdowns on the ground to a 19-touchdown season through the air, threw for over 2,500 yards. Klubnik was a very highly rated recruit, and most people will probably have him in their Heisman watch to start next year. He's got a lot of talent. He hasn't shown the fullest of it just yet, but he's been very, very good, and he would start on most college football teams right now. So I've got to have him inside my top 50 at number 44 here on the top 50 quarterbacks of 2023 in the 12 days of college football rankings. Here's Byron Brown, the breakout star from South Florida. Brown had an incredible season. He had a ton of rushing yards and a really good passing season, over 3,000 through the air. Byron Brown might be one of my most surprising players of this year, really having a breakout season after Gary Bohannon went down, and Bohannon is in the transfer portal once again, so the Bulls are Byron Brown's team right now, and really he's looking like he could improve even more next season. Making his way into number 42 is Austin Reed. Austin Reed had an incredible season to follow up a college football best 4,744-yard passing 2022 season, in which he threw for 40 touchdowns and 11 picks. Did take a big step back this year, only 31 touchdowns to 11 picks. The completion percentage went down, the yards went down, but Western Kentucky, that air raid offense back there, they've always got a really good quarterback, and Austin Reed is no different. The senior has been incredible. Transferred in 2 years ago after never playing a snap of college football, and he was a breakout star from the start. 4 rushing touchdowns this year to add on with 100 yards as well. Austin Reed's coming in at number 42. And let's move on to number 41, which is none other than Louisville's Jack Plumber. Plumber had a great year on an incredibly surprising team after what was a breakout season in his first full year of starting at Cal. He transferred in from Purdue that season after 3 years of significant play, but no full years of starting under his belt. Threw for over 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, less than 10 picks. The interceptions went up this year, but so did the yards, and so did the completion percentage. Jack Plummer made a big impact on a Louisville team that had one of its best years since the Lamar Jackson era, and a Louisville team that made it to the ACC championship. And they were also 10-1 going into the final week, where they barely lost to Kentucky. Plummer, hopefully Tyler Shuck will be able to continue the same kind of success that Jack Plummer has, but that's going to be tough because Plummer has set a pretty high bar for the senior who's coming in. At number 40 is a player that I hadn't even heard of before this season, and that's Roco Beck. Before Hunter Deckers was suspended, you probably had no idea who Roco Beck was. Hunter Deckers was starting to get pretty famous after a 3,000-yard passing season, but Roco came in and threw for 20-plus touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions, added 3 on the ground, 63% completion percentage, and led what was one of the worst teams on paper in the Big 12 to a 7-5 season, also throwing for 2,600 yards in the process. Roco is only a redshirt freshman, so it can only get better from here. It's no doubt that KJ Jefferson has been pretty disappointing, but really when you look at it, it was just another one of his patented 2,000-plus yard, 20 touchdown seasons where he added a lot on the ground. But the touchdowns were a lot less, the completion percentage went down, everything was a slight regression from KJ Jefferson, and that's a little concerning considering he was a fifth-year senior. He's probably coming back next year, and if so, he's in the transfer portal, so he's anybody's guy right now. He's a great quarterback, great size, great speed, and I fully expect him to bounce back if he does come back next year. Next up is my guy Haynes King, who transferred in from my Texas A&M Aggies. King had never really done anything at A&M and just didn't have much to deal with there, didn't have a lot of time either, got injured in his first real opportunity, but then at Georgia Tech, he came out blazing, throwing for 26 touchdowns, threw for a lot of picks as well, but of course, with that lightning speed of his, he added a ton on the ground. Haynes King, really talented guy, super highly rated coming out of high school, very, very highly touted recruit that Jimbo Fisher brought in, just didn't pan out like it was supposed to, and he's been able to salvage that career better than really anyone could have predicted at Georgia Tech so far. Next up is Gunar Watson from Troy, and man, this dude has been at Troy forever. I don't even remember what football was like before Gunar Watson was at Troy. I mean, most sixth-year quarterbacks have bounced around 2 or 3 times, but Gunar Watson, he has been there the whole time, and in his 4th straight season of starting for the Trojans, he had what was by far a career season. After a 14-12 touchdown to pick season, he responded with a 27-5 spot, putting up a 3,300 spot in the passing yards, and he was able to rush for a touchdown on the ground. Here comes Dayquan Finn into my rankings at number 36. He was one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of college football last season, with 32 total touchdowns and over 3,000 total yards. This year, he had more of the same and was much more efficient passing and just looked like a more experienced quarterback out there, and it showed because his team finished 11-2 and is gunning for a really good bowl game. However, Finn's in the transfer portal and he's looking to sign with the Power 5 team. Jingling into number 35 on my Christmas rankings is Preston Stone from SMU, and man, is this guy the next big thing for the Mustangs. All Mustang fans should be super excited about this former 4-star recruit. Though he wasn't as efficient with the ball as some of these 6th-year super experienced seniors were, he was very, very good nonetheless. 3,200 through the air, missed the conference championship game due to injury. 28 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions is immaculate. And 200 yards on the ground. Yeah, give me Preston Stone here in number 35. And coming in up next is Michael Pratt, who had another great season, though he missed the first little bit due to injury. Last year, he was one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in the group of 5. I had him as my second best G5 quarterback coming into this year, and he did not disappoint. 22 touchdowns to just 5 picks, and though he didn't have the same rushing season as he did a year ago, he was still very, very good, and I believe he was good enough to win 2023 American Athletic Offensive Player of the Year. Next up is Will Howard, and with the links to the offensive coordinator in Aggieland, I would be thrilled if this guy came to play for my Texas A&M Aggies, and I'm sure you can see why. 24 touchdowns through the air, 9 more on the ground, a total of 3,000 plus yards. This guy's an absolute machine. He's had some experience here and there, but 2023 was his first year starting, and he did not disappoint. Led the Wildcats to another really good season, and also, he was there down the stretch when they beat TCU at the end of last year. Remember the third-string true freshman who played for Baylor in the conference championship all the way back in 2019? Well, here he is, and he plays for actually another green and gold team, and that's the UAB Blazers. The Blazers struck an absolute gold nugget with Jacob Zeno. Zeno has been great. His completion percentage was number 1 in all of the group of 5 pretty much all year long, and he had a super hot start, and though his team was pretty bad around him and pretty injury ruined, he still managed to have an incredible season. Jacob Zeno, he totally deserves this top 35 finish. What a story for TJ Finley. Started off with a terrible freshman season at LSU, transferred over to Auburn and showed a ton of promise. Then followed that up with a very, very subpar injury-ruined season at Auburn, transferred into Texas State, and everyone totally forgot who he was. Here he is at number 31 with 3,300 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 more on the ground. He's been incredible. TJ Finley, as soon as people forgot about him, has been tearing things up in college football. And really, Texas State has had a great year. He led them to an upset over Baylor, and now they're going bowling, and TJ Finley is the main reason for their success. Here's Tua's brother, Talia Tua, and really, Talia has had an incredible career. He's got 11,356 career passing yards, as you'll probably see on your screen there. Added 5 more on the ground this season to make a total of 30. And in the past 3 years, his lowest completion percentage is this year at 66.4, which is still extremely good. He has led Maryland to 3 straight seasons that were much better than they were before he was there. And he spent his freshman year at Alabama playing alongside his brother. So overall, an incredible career for Talia, and all the Terrapins fans out there will remember him for a long, long time. Coming in up next is DJ Uiagalelei. We talked about this guy a week ago in our transfer portal episode, and he's very good. He is extremely good. Followed up the 2022 season that was a huge bounce back year from a really disappointing 2021. DJ Uiagalelei pretty much cloned that 2022 season and had the exact same season. The rushing end was a little bit less, and as he only had half the yardage that he had in 2022 in 2023 with the Beavers, but still 6 touchdowns is very serviceable, and overall a very good year from DJU. Obviously, transferring out of Oregon State because they aren't in a conference right now, and really, he is one of the favorites to win the Heisman next year with all the talent he has. Here's another incredible story, and that's Diego Pavia at New Mexico State. He lost to UMass to start the year and then just turned around this team from top to bottom. Just Diego Pavia was carrying this New Mexico State team, carried them to a 31-10 win over Auburn, led them in rushing, led them in passing, won Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. Diego Pavia, honestly, in 2022, he was nothing special. And really, you look at his stats and say, wow, did that team really go 7-6? You look at their stats this year, and you look at Diego Pavia, and you say, man, how is this guy still putting up these numbers, and it's already late in the season? You'd think he would have cooled off by now. But no, he just kept playing. He just kept cooking out there on the field. Diego Pavia had a great year, and I don't think it's going to stop. I think he's going to go out there next year and put up similar stats. Not a lot of people knew too much about Chandler Rogers coming into this year, only that he'd played 1 year under his belt at ULM after sitting out a few at 2 other colleges. But really, Chandler Rogers has had an incredible season. 3,400 through the air, 29 touchdowns to just 5 picks. Come on, man. He had an incredible season all around, even ran the ball for 180 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's 33 total touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. That is immaculate for Chandler Rogers. Man, this guy really needs some more recognition, because I think there are still people out there who have no idea who this guy is. We're going to the other side of the spectrum in the G5 as Seth Henig is here, and really, everybody knows his name at this point. He's been so good for 3 straight years at Memphis, and he has had up over 10,000 career passing yards, which is pretty insane to think he was a true freshman only 2 years ago, and he's already compiled that many good stats. 8 career rushing touchdowns, 75 career passing touchdowns. He has tripled his career interception number in his career touchdown number. He has never thrown for less than 20 touchdowns, and he's never thrown for more than 10 picks. What a career from Seth Henig, and it's no surprise that he's here at number 26. Here's college football's newcomer of the year. That's Joey Aguiar. He had an incredible season. 3,500 passing yards, 33 touchdowns to just 9 picks from a guy who had never played a snap before. That's right, this guy was a 4th string 1 year ago, and now he's in my top 25. That is insane. One of the most surprising players in all of college football this season. Spencer Rattler's back again, and though his team was disappointing, he was very, very good. He failed to crack 20 touchdowns passing again, but he improved heavily on the rushing end and was more accurate with his passes, and he threw for more yards. It was all around just a better season than last year for Spencer Rattler, even though his team's record says the opposite. Rattler had an incredible season, and really, he's going to be a pretty highly rated draft pick, and it'll be interesting to see if he'll pan out in the NFL considering how high of a high school recruit he was rated. At number 23 is Drew Aller, and people say, dude, why is Drew Aller even in the top 50? Penn State's offense was so disappointing this year. How could you possibly rank him higher than you had him in the preseason? And I would say, dude, this guy has thrown 409 passes at the collegiate level, and only one of them has been intercepted. 2,700 yards, 27 touchdowns, and just 1 pick. I don't care if the completion percentage isn't to be desired for. Those are Heisman-type numbers. Those are almost Heisman-type numbers right there. And also 4 more touchdowns on the ground. It's definitely serviceable. Drew Aller, and he's only a sophomore. This guy is going places at Penn State. I'm a huge, huge fan of Drew Aller. That's why I got him in the top 25. At number 22, I've got one of the most improved quarterbacks in college football, and that's Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz was one of the most efficient quarterbacks this season with an incredible completion percentage, was so much better in the touchdown to interception category. At Wisconsin, he was very just subpar, but with Florida, he turned things around mightily and has turned into one of the most underrated college football players out there. Congrats to Graham Mertz for getting onto this list. A really good story this season. And I'm kind of bummed out I don't get to see him play in a bowl game because the team around him just isn't very good. Sam Hartman is also going to join us for the holidays at number 21. Hartman had a good season, but really nothing to rival the incredible years he put up at Wake Forest in the 2021 and 2022 years. Just kind of got carried by Audric Estime for a lot of the season. Still was very good, cut down the interceptions, but again, he started his first 6 games with 0 picks, so he really got off to a hot start and cooled off mightily. Again, had a good year rushing, much worse than the past few seasons, but still very, very good, and still good enough to be top 25 in all of college football strictly off this season is a very good thing for Sam Hartman. In his 6th year of college football, this guy's 25 years old. It is crazy to think that he's still in college. I don't care if you hate Ohio State or not, you guys gotta stop hating on Kyle McCord. The guy had a really good season, and he led the Buckeyes to an 11-1 year. No, he's not CJ Stroud, or really not even Dwayne Haskins or Justin Fields, but he's a very, very serviceable quarterback and better than most quarterbacks in college football. Actually, he only had 19 guys better than him this season. McCord still had a great year, 24 passing touchdowns, didn't have any on the ground. That's kind of his one downside is he just can't really scramble. But he's in the transfer portal now. It'll be interesting to see who picks him up. Ryan Day was not satisfied with his play, so it'll be interesting to see who he picks up in the transfer portal. And honestly, it could definitely be one of these 19 guys ahead of Kyle McCord. Kaden Salter's up next at number 19. Another great story, very Diego Pavia-esque that really nobody knew who this guy was. He transferred in back in 2021, sat on the bench behind a very talented Malik Willis, and then last year just didn't play much, really a run-heavy team. But this year, 1,000+ rushing, 2,700 passing, 31 touchdowns. What is going on, man? This guy is an absolute freak show. He is very, very good. And also, he has kind of a goon squad for the group of 5 at Liberty. Really, really good team for the Flames, and I'm just really excited to see Kaden Salter go out there and keep cooking next year. Jordan McLoud has been the best quarterback in the group of 5 this season. He's been so good. I mean, look at this guy. He's playing for his 3rd team. He missed a full year due to injury last year, and he came out and had an incredible year rushing, his best year on the ground, his best year by far through the air. and 30 plus passing, 3,000 plus through the air. He's been so good. What a story for the JMU team as well, making it into a bowl game, fighting the NCAA all year long. And Jordan McLoud has been the captain, the entire offense of this team, the entire way through it. Sad to see he's in the transfer portal leaving them, but it's happy to see that he'll be playing again next year. We've talked a ton about Cam Ward already on this channel, but what more to say? This guy has been a 4-year starter, 13,000 career passing, 16 career rushing touchdowns. He's thrown for over 100 through the air. He's going for his 3rd team in college football, transferring out for his 5th year. That's pretty insane. What a career for Cam Ward, and coming in at number 17 might be a little low.
Here comes Joe Milton from Tennessee. He is number 16 on my list. Milton has had a crazy career as he really doesn't have any full years of starting under his belt, but he started at least one game in every single season since 2020. That year he got benched because Michigan was playing much worse than expectations, and then in 2021 he won a starting job over Hendon Hooker, got injured, and would never get it back. Now he came up with a big season, running the ball for a lot and throwing for minimum interceptions and keeping Tennessee from falling apart after losing so many players to the NFL draft. Drake May's stats took a big step back this season, but nonetheless he ended up with a great year. May had a very solid year, but last year, over 4,000 yards, top 10 in the Heisman. His completion percentage went down. Really a big disappointing year for Drake May. Still led North Carolina to a good year, had some bad losses sprinkled in there. But overall, it's a plus for Drake May. His draft stock is through the roof. He's probably going to be taken 2nd or 3rd, at lowest 4th overall. He's had a really good year. I really hate Texas, so let's make this one as quick as possible. Here comes Quinn Ewers at number 14. Ewers had a great year. He's in the playoffs right now. Missed a game or two due to injury, but that didn't stop him from having an incredible season, 3,000 plus passing. Missed out on the Heisman list, but he was pretty close, and though his rushing yards took a big step back from the first half of the season and the second half of the year, he still ended up with a positive season on the ground. Here comes Jackson Dart at number 13, and boy did Jackson Dart have a great year. Got off to a big start on the ground, but overall finished with a lot less yards than he had in 2022 with the Rebels. But last year with the Rebels, only 1 touchdown. He wasn't making a big difference in the scoring side of things on the ground. This year, things were different. He scored 7 touchdowns on the ground, was 15 shy of 3,000 through the air, threw for 20 touchdowns, and the interceptions went way down from last year. He just looked like a more experienced, more confident quarterback out there on the field, and it showed as Ole Miss is making a New Year's Six Bowl, and they finished 10-2 in the SEC. Next up is Brady Cook from Missouri, and boy did Brady Cook take a big step up this season. After last year where he was more of a rushing quarterback, didn't really do too much through the air, was very serviceable with just under 2,500 yards. But this year he had a breakout season, throwing for over 3,000, leading Missouri to a 10-2 year after going 6-7 the year before. Again, I had Missouri going 4-8. I was terribly wrong. And one of the guys I was wrong about was Brady Cook. He was one of the guys that I saw at the beginning of this year and said, no, he's going to regress. They've got a good bench guy in Jake Garcia. Sam Horn could even take over that starting job mid-season. But that's not at all what happened. Brady Cook, he led that offense to an incredible season. And Missouri, they've been rewarded by it as they're playing against Ohio State in the New Year's Six Bowls this year. Here's Noah Fafita from Arizona, and Noah Fafita had an incredible season. This guy only had 128 passing yards for his whole career coming into this year. He was a redshirt freshman, and he threw for 23 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions, and he had almost a 75% completion percentage as a redshirt freshman. This guy looked like a sixth-year senior with how efficient he was out there under center with the Wildcats, and he was only a redshirt freshman. I only expect bigger things from Noah Fafita next year. More or less, it was just more of the same this year for my 10th best quarterback this year, J.J. McCarthy. The touchdowns went down a little bit. The yardage on both passing and rushing went down. but the completion percentage skyrocketed. This guy was a more experienced, more confident, more efficient passer this year in college football. And you could tell, as Michigan is currently ranked first in the playoffs, they're the favorites right now, in my opinion. J.J. McCarthy, he had a great year, and I believe he squeaked into the Heisman list at number 10 because of how, in limited opportunities on a run-heavy team, how good he was in those limited reps. J.J. McCarthy, he's been a real diamond in the rough for Michigan, turning them around after that 2020 COVID season that was lost because they just didn't have a quarterback. Cade McNamara obviously wasn't it, even though they played really well in 2021. Jalen Milroe is my 9th best quarterback of this year. You might remember him being all the way down at number 47 or 48, I don't even remember, on my preseason list. But then he goes out there for Alabama, turns that team around after all the hate they were getting after losing to Texas at home. And he had 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns through the air, only 6 interceptions. That's pretty elite. Well, then he added 12 more touchdowns on the ground. This guy is an absolute speed demon at quarterback. And though he didn't really scramble too much this year, when he did, he was very, very efficient. Jalen Milroe had a great season and was a very pleasant surprise to all the Bama fans out there. Shadur Sanders is the 8th best quarterback in college football this year. How about this guy? He's got over 10,000 yards passing in his career after just 3 seasons. Well, his first year in the FBS didn't go any differently than his first 2 in the FCS. Shadur Sanders had an incredible season, throwing for 3,200 plus yards, 27 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions, just shy of a 70% completion percentage. Added a few touchdowns on the ground, and that's something he improved on last year at Jackson State, but really his offensive line here at Colorado was atrocious, so you don't really blame him for the negative yardage on the rushing side of things. Overall, I think Shadur Sanders will declare for the draft and maybe be a mid to late second round pick if he gets lucky. Carson Beck is at number 7, and it is safe to say that he has carried on the legacy that Stetson Bennett left at Georgia. After 2 national championships, Beck continued the Bulldogs' winning streak to 12 more games, going 12-0 in the regular season. Obviously, dropped one against Alabama in the SEC championship, was unable to make it to the playoffs. Georgia will not three-peat this year, but it is not Carson Beck's fault. This guy threw for 3,000 plus yards, incredible completion percentage. He even added a lot more than people think on the ground. So, definitely a good season for Carson Beck. We'll see if he comes back for another year, finish what he started at Georgia. At number 6, I've got the now Oregon quarterback, Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel has 4 3,000 passing yard seasons under his belt at this point. In 2019, he did it as a true freshman, and even more impressively, in 2020, he did it with limited playing time because of the COVID season. In 2022, he barely squeaked past 3,000, dealing with injuries, and this year, he put it all together for a complete season. Dillon Gabriel set a career high in both passing yards, touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. This guy put it all together this year, and it was fun to watch. And really, he could improve even more at Oregon, and honestly, he might be my Heisman favorite going into next year. Into the top 5 quarterbacks of the 2023 season is Jordan Travis. Dude, what a story. Jordan Travis, even with that awful injury at the end of the season, ends up with 20 touchdowns to just 2 picks, 2,700 yards, and for the 5th or 4th or what it feels like a million year in a row, he added 7 more rushing touchdowns. This guy is a machine on the ground as well. Jordan Travis was carrying this Florida State team ever since they got that big win over LSU in what was by far their hardest game of the season. Got them an overtime win over Clemson. That one was tough. Then he got injured, but he still made it to top 5 on the Heisman list. What a story for Jordan Travis. He is my 5th best quarterback in college football just this season. And really, he could be something in the NFL. We are getting very close, folks, as we are at number 4 here on the first day of Christmas. And it's Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams pretty much the guaranteed number 1 overall pick as soon as this season started, and that still seems to be the case. Though he didn't have the same stats that he did a year ago, Caleb Williams was still elite, and he just carried this USC team. The team around him was so disappointing and just wasn't what we thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year. They were the favorites to win the Pac-12, which was looking like one of the toughest conferences in college football, and it was, but USC was not there. The Trojans' defense was abysmal, but Caleb Williams was still cooking out there, almost 4,000 passing yards, led all of college football in total touchdowns for most of the year. But Caleb Williams, he's not going anywhere. He's the number 1 overall pick. He's got an insane future in the NFL. Here's Michael Penix Jr. at number 3 in the top 3. Michael Penix, last year he led all of the Power 5 in passing yards, and this year he had an NCAA best 4,218 spot through the air. Improved in the passing touchdowns category as he had 33 this season, and even went up 0.6 with the completion percentage, so not much higher than what he had last year, but really, you can't get any better than that. Michael Penix is just the best of the best, the elite. We're getting into that number of quarterbacks where these guys are franchise quarterbacks. These guys are guys that their fans will remember forever no matter what they do in the NFL. Michael Penix has made a difference at Washington. He's led them to a 13-0 season, 2 wins over Oregon and Bo Nix. What a season for Michael Penix Jr. In his 6th year, this guy's dealt with injury after injury. He transferred. He's been through a lot, but what a story to finish it out in 2023 with a Heisman-caliber season. Here's Bo Nix at number 2 and the best passing quarterback by far in college football this year. 4,000 plus yards, 40 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a 77% completion percentage? What? And you're telling me he didn't win the Heisman? Yeah, that's the kind of season that Bo Nix put up with Oregon. They were video game numbers. Folks, I'm telling you, video game numbers for Bo Nix. He would have won the Heisman a lot of the past. You look at the past few seasons, and there is not a guy that you can find in most of them that is better than 2023 Bo Nix, but got beat out by Jaden Daniels because Jaden Daniels is just something else, which leads us to Jaden Daniels. Is this even a conversation anymore? This guy just took home a Heisman, brought another one to Baton Rouge in Louisiana. Jaden Daniels is something else. He threw for an insane amount of yards, ran it for over 1,000 on the ground. He led all of college football in yards per carry. This guy was insane. Got Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. a combined 2,500 yards receiving. Jaden Daniels, those guys were helping him out. Jaden Daniels, he's just such a great guy, too. He was cracking jokes up on the Heisman stage. He said his receivers, they're like Waffle Houses, they're always open, and that definitely helped him out. Jaden Daniels, though, he is the most talented quarterback in college football right now, no question. Not only did he put up the best stats, but honestly, he has a future in the NFL, very Jalen Hurts-esque, with that elite speed to add on to a great arm. Daniels had an incredible year. We knew he was going to be good, but not like this. He nearly tripled his total touchdowns from last year. That's just insane. He just put up 10 plus on the ground, 30 plus through the air. What a season from Jaden Daniels, and what a way to cap off my first day of the 12 days of rankings with Jaden Daniels, the best quarterback in college football. Next up, let me know if you want me to do running backs, if you want me to do wide receivers, if you want me to do left tackles. I know you guys love left tackles. I could do kickers. I could do the most disappointing quarterbacks in college football this year. I could do the best freshman players in college football. There are endless possibilities for me to do throughout the next 11 days, and all you guys have to do is stick around, subscribe to the channel, and just let me know what you want next. We'll be putting out a ton of videos up until the Christmas season, and we're really close, guys. Only 12 days left. I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Bye.